If you want to know how many people are diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime, for women it's just under 50%, and for men it's 50% or higher. And if you're going to add the non-melanoma skin cancers into that group, well, you can go even higher than that. So it's like me and whoever's sitting next to me, one of us is going to get cancer.
If you look at where we are today compared to where we were in 1971 when Richard Nixon declared America's war on cancer, he signed the National Cancer Act of 1971, which set up and dedicated federal funding to investigate a cure to cancer. I don't think we've really made a lot of progress.
One of the things that people need to understand is that cancer is a slow-growing disease. Unfortunately, though, by the time it's often diagnosed, it's actually advanced, and now it's much more rapidly growing.
What happens is one cell changes from a normal cell to a cancer cell. And one of the qualities of a cancer cell is that it divides at its own free will. Its doubling time is about every 100 days. So it goes from one cell to 2 in 3.5 months. The divisions continue, and after 6 years, you've got a tumor that's the size of a period on a pencil, the lead tip of a pencil. It's 1 millimeter in size, and it exists in a mass that's 100 billion cells. Finally, you get to a point where the current technology can detect tumors, and that's after 10 years of growth on average. Your tumor mass is now a centimeter. It contains 1 billion cells. Only after it gets to the size of an eraser can you feel it, say, with a finger or by self-examination or by mammography even. Lots of people have cancer that's not detected. For example, men over the age of 50, at least half of men have prostate cancer. I can show you research that says women on the Western diet in their 4th decade of life, 40% of them have breast cancer. They have no idea. Cancer is widespread in people. It's probably present over half of people, say over the age of 50. They have cancer. Fortunately, most of it never materializes.
Consider what's been called the barnyard pen of cancers. And the animals in the barnyard are the birds, the rabbits, and the turtles. And the goal of early detection is to try to fence them in. And of course, you can't fence in a bird because it's already flown away. And those represent the fastest growing cancers, the most aggressive cancers, the cancers that have already spread by the time they're detectable. The rabbits are hopping around. If you build enough fences, you can catch some of them. That's where screening is going to have its most beneficial effect if it has one. And then there are the turtles, and those are the cancers that aren't going anywhere anyway. And unfortunately, screening's really good at finding turtles. And unfortunately, there are actually a lot of turtles to be found. We all harbor small cellular abnormalities that meet the pathologic definition of cancer but aren't going anywhere. We don't know which is which, so we tend to treat everybody. That's the side effect of screening that represents a big harm. You're treating people unnecessarily for something that's never going to hurt them.
Suggestions has been that the key was early detection. Well, early detection might be very important if the treatment is actually effective.
This is one of the problems with effective screening techniques, is that you take, when you screen, you throw out a net and you consume a lot more people. You take healthy people and you turn them into patients.
There are a lot of forces at work. Some of it is true belief. People who just genuinely believe this is the best way to promote the health of society is to look for early forms of disease. But then we got to be honest, there's a lot of money here. I mean, there's no market as big as the market of well people. And so there's a lot of interest in finding things to do to well people. And by the way, for hospitals or academic medical centers, it's a great way to find new patients. And Otis Brawley, now the head of the American Cancer Society, mentioned that when he was a cancer center director, he was encouraged to do free prostate cancer screenings because they knew that the subsequent testing following those screenings would more than make up the cost. It would be a big moneymaker.
The cancer industry is very, very powerful. Very powerful, very rich. in one sense, not the society, but they're well enough off. But it's basically that they are pushing chemotherapy as a means of treatment.
Much of the treatment that we've used in the past has been ineffective or minimally effective at actually affecting all-cause mortality. And so it doesn't look that we've made the kind of progress that you might hope we would have, given the tens of billions of dollars that have been invested in the supposed war on cancer.
I hate to be so basic about it, folks, but the money is everything. That's why you hear about certain things and don't hear about others. That's why you hear about cancer chemotherapy, because there's the money. That's why doctors do it. That's why drug companies sell it. That's why nobody stands up and publicly says what the research clearly says, and that these toxic agents in most cases do far more harm than good.
Physicians have tremendous pressures. They're seeing 20, 30 patient contacts a day, and they're trying to give people what they want, and what people want is relief of pain and relief of debility. They're not necessarily coming into physicians saying, what kind of diet and lifestyle choices can I implement? They're asking, what can you do to make me feel better? And frankly, physicians do an excellent job of providing drugs and surgery to suppress the symptoms associated with disease. And that's what they're paid for, that's what they're trained for. They're not trained to aggressively spend time doing diet and lifestyle choices, and even if they wanted to do that, the system doesn't support that.
People are suffering, and I'll give you this term, and it will shock you a little bit. People are suffering from food poisoning. They're being poisoned. And the general categories of foods that poison people are animal foods. We're talking about cows, pigs, chickens, fishes, and vegetable oils.
Today, over 90% of the calories that are consumed by people in industrialized countries come from either animal foods or these highly processed chemicals. So it's the bulk of what people are eating. Fruits and vegetables no longer make up the dominance of the diet. In fact, they're the decoration on the plate. They aren't even a statistically significant part of the diet for many people. You've got studies suggesting that for teenagers, as much as 25% of their total calories comes from the sugar and soda pop alone. I mean, we are in a deep, deep pit when it comes to indulging in highly processed foods.
It's been estimated that maybe it's only 2% of all cancers have a direct genetic link. Well, then what's going on with all the rest of these cancers? And I believe that even these 2% that are linked to a gene, can be effectively dealt with if a person is aware and is making the right type of decisions.
Somebody gets wisdom and changes their diet, and the impact should be even greater the longer you eat a healthier diet, the longer your body is strong and able to defend itself and repair itself. If you have ineffective therapies, hey, ball game over.
Early detection might mean that people are motivated to begin doing preventative measures with diet and lifestyle change earlier. And it's very likely that the earlier you intervene with diet and lifestyle changes, the more likely you are to delay, defer, or perhaps avoid and even reverse these conditions.
People with cancer should change to a plant food type diet in order to slow the growth, reduce chances of dying, and of course, live better. The truth is that the human being is a starch eater. Beans, corn, potatoes, rice. That's what the human diet is. It's primarily those foods. Is it exclusively vegan or vegetarian? Probably not. I mean, it never has been. It can be. Healthy it can be. But throughout all of human history, large successful populations of people have lived on starch-based diets. For example, the Aztecs and the Mayans were known as the people of the corn. They lived on corn. The Incas lived on potatoes. The people in the Middle East lived on wheat and barley, and still do, except for the princes and the kings and the queens and the leaders. They learned the American diet. They eat food poisons. Animal foods and vegetable oils are the primary food poisons. So when I say to you, stop eating food poisons, I mean chickens, I mean fishes, I mean cows, I mean pigs, I mean anything animal that you eat.
There's always this presumption that cancer is not reversible by normal means. I say that's hogwash, because 30, 40 years ago, that's exactly what we're doing.
February 13 of 2015, when the American Cancer Society came out and officially said that people with cancer, like breast cancer, colon cancer, and prostate cancer, should change their diet because they will live better and longer. That's an official statement from the American Cancer Society, February 13th, 2015.
This is quite different from the toxic chemical approach. If you want to look up turmeric fighting cancer or strawberries fighting cancer, and you can look at these studies about just the power of individual foods being able to reverse cancer, it's there, but there isn't a lobby for strawberries. There isn't a sales rep going around telling doctors to prescribe strawberries to their patients with esophagus cancer.
So we have to find a way to go back and first off recognize that just maybe cancer can be reversed.
When he took rodents and gave them an alpha toxin, the alpha toxin would create these small clusters of cancer in the liver. Then he would give them protein for their food. If he kept the protein at 5%, there would not be any further additional growth of those cancer clusters. The minute he began increasing it above 8, 9, 10% and above, these cancers just absolutely took off. And what was the protein that he was using? Casein. The major protein in all animal products. He would feed it a rather high amount of casein. The tumors would explode, then he would withdraw the casein back down to a lower percent. They would shrink and reduce. Reintroduce it, they exploded again. It was as if he had the capacity to turn cancer on and off.
We know the cure for cancer, and the cure for cancer is prevention. And the prevention of cancer is going to turn out to be largely associated with diet and lifestyle choices. Getting people to eat healthy, exercise appropriately, sleep adequately, and avoiding the carcinogenic stimuluses that tend to be triggering cancer, the smoking, the use of alcohol and drugs, the consumption of animal-based diets, and highly processed foods. So I think there's good evidence to suggest that by getting people to make wholesale changes in their diet and lifestyle choices, we can dramatically reduce the likelihood or delay the onset of cancer in general.
It's a big secret. The reason why you don't hear about it is because a doctor doesn't get paid for giving you good advice. They get paid for writing a prescription. And it's not just the doctor, but all the way on up through the whole chemical, pharmaceutical, medical industry. It's all about money.
You get those things in place, they start taking a little life of their own. I think that pretty much becomes the fabric of a revolution, peaceful revolution, but certainly becomes a fabric of change.
We know what causes these diseases. It's the food.
The reason I'm so passionate about plant-based nutrition is, to me, it's truly the seismic revolution in the world. By that I mean, it not only does it absolutely get rid of heart disease, but obviously it diminishes cancer. It can wipe out diabetes, it can wipe out hypertension, it can wipe out strokes, it can lengthen life.
We, as individual citizens, have a tremendously powerful tool, and it's called money. And if we put our money where our interests are, changes occur.
Making the change. Because that's the problem. How do you get people to change? Awareness is important. Availability of the food is important. Talking about issues that are paramount to them are important.
I think that something like this, it's not going to happen through the medical establishment. It's not going to happen through government.
I think at this time, it basically has to exist as a grassroots effort.
We're going to wake up pretty soon. We are going to throw ourselves as a country into this lifestyle, because to me it's the only answer to every really major issue we have going on right now.